Good evening and welcome to this year's Year 11 Preparation for Success evening. Thank you for taking the time to join us. My name is Dave Wiltshire and I'm privileged to be head teacher here at King's Academy. This online event is about understanding the up and coming mock examinations, how to best prepare and how we can support, and of course what can be done at home to ensure the very best of success. I wrote to you all before the half-term break and outlined the thoughts over the way in which GCSEs will be examined later this year. We've also met with the whole of the Year 11 cohort to inform them of the current situation with regards to the proposed examinations for the next summer. As you're aware, there's been a consultation led by the Department for Education and Ofqual, the exam board's regulatory body. Importantly, unlike the past 2 years, exams are planned for the summer of 2022, and confirmed results days for GCSEs is the 25th of August. There's a provisional examination timetable, and that runs from the 16th of May to the 29th of June, and this allows a 10-day period between multiple examinations in subjects, hopefully reducing the risk of any disruption due to COVID. We've been informed that exam boards will be providing advance information for certain subjects and details of what will be examined in the summer. For English literature, history and geography, it's been confirmed that the examined content will be reduced. And our teachers are currently working extremely hard to ensure they're adapting their lessons and the sequences of learning accordingly. Any information about advanced content for examinations will be sent to us by the 7th of February 2022. For GCSE Maths, Combined Science and Physics, formula sheets will be provided in the examinations. Arts GCSE will be assessed only through Component 1, which is the coursework element of the course. For subjects where practical competency is tested, there will be a limitation in the number of practical skills assessed. Should we be faced with any further restrictions, this approach will of course be reviewed again, and there's a further national consultation that has taken place, and that closed on October the 13th, for which we await the outcome. I will of course keep you well informed of any updates we receive from the Department of Education or indeed Ofqual. For the time being, we must ensure that we're prepared, and whilst making every effort to reduce the anxiety and the stress upon our young people in Year 11. We are in this together, and our aim remains unfaltering and resolute, that regardless of the format of examinations, that we will support and help the students of King's to achieve their absolute very best. Next Wednesday, the 10th of November, we will be hosting the online Parents' Evening using School Cloud, where a full review of your child's subject progress can be discussed with their teachers. I will now hand over to Rachel Hopwood, Deputy Head Teacher responsible for progress and performance, to discuss the up-and-coming mock examinations and the relevant support.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this Preparation for Success evening today. I have to start off with some key messages. First of all, for students and parents alike, choose to be positive. A positive mindset will enable you to maximise the progress that you can make. So what's the plan? Well, let's first think about the end goal. That Year 11 results day in August next summer, when you're able to celebrate doing your best and achieving the results that you wanted or above. So some dates to start off with. First of all, non-examined assessments are taking place and are ongoing throughout this academic year. You will be aware that we have the upcoming PPE period, those pre-public exams, for which students will be briefed in the week commencing the 22nd of November, and they will take place between the 6th of December and the 15th. We'll then have a results day in January where we look at what those PPA results are and where to target for each student so they can maximise their progress for the summer. The summer exam period, though provisional at the moment, will start on the 16th of May and continue until the 29th of June. The briefing for that taking place in the week beginning the 9th of May. There is support through the Learning to Learn programme, which takes place in tutor time and matches the Year 11 mentoring programme. All of this is in place to ensure that students have the best opportunities at the end when they're thinking about their next steps. King's 6th virtual open evening has taken place, and applications online are now live. There are taster sessions that will take place in November, as well as interviews in January and February. And of course, there's the induction day on the 15th of June in 2022. So, the learning to learn that takes place in tutor time will help students to best prepare not only for this year, but their steps afterwards, underlines the key messages that are also there in mentoring meetings. So I'm now going to hand over to Alistair Sage, who's recorded for you a little information about that Year 11 mentoring programme and is one of our learning mentors here at King's.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Alistair Sage, and I'm one of the learning mentors at the King's by 6. My specific area of responsibility is the Year 11 mentoring programme, and that's what I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking to you about now. So, the Mentor Plus system at King's aims to achieve a number of things which are listed there. So, first and foremost, we aim to support all students in Year 11 with prioritising their work and planning their work. Obviously, really effective time management is incredibly important in this important year, and as much support as we can give them to do that, the better. Part of that is communicating clear expectations around revision and preparation for exams. So obviously the PPEs which are coming up in December, but also the main summer exams, and also ensuring that students engage with the extensive revision programme. We have a number of revision sessions which run at lunchtime and after school. Different students will be directed to those at different times. It's a bespoke programme which aims to maximise individual potential. We also have a number of mentor meetings which run throughout the year. This year, these mentor meetings will either be one-to-one or in small groups, and there will be a separate focus for each mentor meeting, which I'm going to run through now. So the round 1 meetings, which occurred just before the half term, we asked students to undertake a baseline assessment to assess their strengths and weaknesses in various different study skill areas. We looked at subjects in which they were under target and produced an action plan to try to maximise their progress and achievement. And we looked at sowing the seeds for a revision timetable, so ways that they could structure a revision timetable for their PPEs. Round 2, which is coming up mid-November, is going to be a review and follow-up on that revision timetable to look at exam technique in advance of the PPEs and things that they can do to maximise success, and also to revisit that previous action plan that they made and look at the impact of it. Round 3 meetings will be a review of their PPEs, how they did, looking at future plans, so looking at sixth form and future options, and also extensive preparation for their final exam. So again, making sure that they've got a really active revision timetable, that they've learnt the lessons from the revision timetable they produced previously, and that is followed up and checked up, that's actually been done, and students are able to articulate how they're using that revision timetable in a meaningful way. And then finally for round 4, that we look to make sure that they are really prioritising their time management, but also their well-being and their management of stress, obviously, in what is a very important and pressurised time. Just so that you've got some key dates now, so overview of the mentor meetings. Round 1 ran from the 28th of September until the 8th of October. Round 2, as you can see there, is mid to end November until just before that PPE window. Round 3, 24th of January to the 4th of February, and round 4 is the 4th of April to the 29th of April, so obviously just before that window where the main exams start. Also, I thought it'd be useful if you had an overview of when the revision sessions run. So round 1 will finish just before the PPE start on the 3rd of December. And as you can see there, you've got the PPE dates from the 6th to the 15th of December. Round 3 will run from the 7th of February until the 25th of March. And the final round will be the 26th of April until the 27th of May. As I said before, not all students will be booked in for all sessions. We're trying to make sure that we match students' needs to the sessions that they're asked to attend. I hope that's helped to give an overview of how the mentoring scheme works at King's. Many thanks for listening.
So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can help and support students at home. How can parents help? It's really important to help students manage their diet, their sleep, their phone distractions, the environment they work in, to help them to plan time to relax, and to make sure that they can talk when needed without being compared to siblings or friends. And you let them know that you are proud of them throughout this period where they're working hard. So one of the questions we often get asked is about helping to manage exam stress. It's really important to understand how the brain works, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in a moment, to then help identify when you feel stressed and what it is about when it comes to the exams. Recognise anxiety and how the stress can manifest itself for different people. And then create your own personalised revision strategies and guides with your timetable. Until recently, it was widely thought that we slowly stopped being able to learn new things, but the latest research shows that isn't the case. The brain is plastic. London taxi drivers have larger spatial awareness areas of their brain. People who read Braille have larger finger sensor areas of their brain. Every time we learn something new, we change our brain. The brains of Year 11 are being worked hard at the moment, so let's make sure that they're really looked after. The brain. It's the front of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, which does the learning. We also have the amygdala, our stress response, flight or fright, which is likely to be fired up at some point throughout the exam season. There's a really delicate balance between the amygdala working enough to give you the edge and the focus, and it being too fired up and becoming overwhelming with stress. Here are two brain scans, which show the parts of the brain that are activated during stress. The left one, the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, is really well lit up. This person is likely to be coping well with stress, and that's what we want for our students. So adopting the right mindset is a key step to overcoming exam-related anxiety. Don't fight it. Feeling nervous is natural, and trying too hard to overcome it may become counterproductive. Be realistic. We'd all love to be Superman, but we're not going to get revision done in 5 minutes. Equally, working 24 hours a day won't make the difference either. Create a manageable plan that you can stick to in the real world. Expect some difficulty. Exams are designed to be challenging, and everyone taking the test will struggle to some degree. And tackle self-doubt. Be realistic and optimistic about your capabilities. Visualise yourself staying composed and thoughtful during the exam. The worst thing you can do is to assume you're doomed from the start. You're not. So, giving your brain a workout. Try to stop and think, can you think about this in another way? Or could you behave differently? Repeat and revise learning to get it firmly into your brain. Make action plans and to-do lists to organise your brain. And share worries to get them out of your brain. Reflect what's in your head. What can you change and what can't you? But is it overworked? Is it too full? Is it tired? Is it getting distracted? It's just as important to give your brain a break. Make sure that you rest your brain from time to time. Do one thing. Have some screen downtime. Watch a film. Make sure it includes physical exercise. Breathe from your tummy, not your chest. Get the oxygen to your brain. And take brain breaks when you're working. And you'll see on this slide here, there are some guides which you may want to use, recommended guides about managing teenage stress. So, effective revision. Top 5 tips to help support both students and parents to undertake effective revision. First of all, plan your time. You can see here, this is a copy of the online getrevising.co.uk planner, which is a free online resource that will help you to manage your time and put in when your exams are, when your other commitments are, and therefore use the time that you have effectively to target those subjects where you feel you can make the most difference. Secondly, get organised. Know the what and the how. What do I need to revise for this subject? How many topics do I need to cover? How long will it take me to revise them? Can I group certain topics together in one revision session? Organise your notes. Stick to your plan. And do your revision. Remember to try out different techniques. Find out what works for you. Most importantly, make sure you're continuously testing the subjects and topics you've revised. and make sure where you still need to do work that feeds back into your plan for the forthcoming week. Third top tip, make it active. It is well shown in research that by doing, you are more likely to retain the information and knowledge which you have revised. Teaching others is possibly the best way to retain the information, but practice by doing and discussion are also good methods. When you're thinking about making it active, although I know some people will say that they are less preferred, actually using mind maps unlocks the potential in your brain. It allows your brain to be creative. It builds new neural pathways and helps you to link together topics and subjects. And you will see on this slide that there are 2 websites where you can make mind maps for free online, printing them, providing you with a really good source of information and notes. Top tip number 4, revise, review, repeat. It is well known, and although research differs in the number of times it says, that by repeating and reviewing the same information, you are far more likely to have retained that knowledge or skill. And lastly, tip 5, get the environment right. Put your mobile phone on flight mode or remove it from your study zone altogether. Work with a clear desk, get out only the information that you need. And find a quiet space to work where you won't be distracted. Make sure friends and family know that you are revising so they can support you in doing so. And lastly, though we've gone through lots of information there about things you should be doing, don't forget that actually planning time to relax is also important to give your brain that break. I'm now going to hand over and you're going to hear some recorded messages from English, Maths, Science and RE, core subjects which all of our students take.
Okay, I'm Mrs. Ashurst, I'm Head of English at King's, and I'm going to run through some key information on the English GCSEs, so what they are and how best to revise for them. So, students will leave Year 11 with 2 English GCSEs, one in English language and one in English literature, and for each of these GCSEs they'll sit 2 papers. So, let's start by going through the 2 language papers. So, English language paper 1 is called Explorations in Creative Reading and Writing. And in this paper, they'll be given 1 source and have to answer 4 questions in the reading section to show their understanding of that source. In section B, this is the writing section, they'll be asked to write a piece of creative writing. So that could be a story or a description. Paper 2 then is called Writers' Viewpoints and Perspectives. Similar layout to paper 1, so we have a reading section where you answer 4 questions. In this exam, there are 2 sources, so there's a comparative element to these reading questions. Again, section B is the writing section, and this is writing with a point of view. So students will be asked to write a piece of non-fiction, so for example, an article or a letter. So those are the 2 language exams. Moving on to the literature exams. English literature paper 1 is an options paper, and we've chosen the anthology poetry and Animal Farm for Year 11. So they'll sit 2 papers back to back, both 50 minutes long. Paper 1A is the power and conflict poetry, so students have studied 15 poems and they'll be asked to compare 2 poems in this section of the exam. Paper 1C is the modern text exam, and this is Animal Farm. So students will answer 1 question from a choice of 2 on Animal Farm. Final exam then, English literature paper 2, this is Shakespeare and unseen poetry. So this is a full exam, they run straight through because this is the compulsory paper. Section A of this exam is Macbeth, so students will answer 1 question on Macbeth, they'll be given an extract from the play, but they'll also be asked to show their knowledge of the whole text. Section B is unseen poetry, and in this one students answer 1 question on an unseen poem, so a poem they've never read before, and then there's a small question right at the end of this exam where they're asked to compare the first unseen poem with a second unseen poem. So this half term, students will sit a PPE in English language paper 2, which is Writers' Viewpoints and Perspectives, and English literature paper 2, which is Shakespeare and unseen poetry. So the immediate need for revision is on these 2 papers in preparations for those exams in December. Okay, so how do we go about revising for all of these exams in English then? A great place to start are exercise books. So in exercise books, there are lots and lots of revision resources, lots of feedback from previous assessments. So that's a really great place to start students' revision. Secondly, there are lots of resources on FIREFLY as well. So on the screen here, you'll see the tabs that you see when you click through to the English subject page on FIREFLY. Now, due to the changes in the 2022 exams for English literature, there's a specific tab for current year 11. So it's circled here on the screen. You need to go to GCSE 2022 to find all the revision resources you will need for English. So on this page, there's a revision audit document, which looks like this, and this is a really good place to start. Now, this is a good place to start because it's tempting sometimes for students to revise the aspects of a unit that they're most comfortable with. But what you really want to do is rate which aspects you are confident with and which you are not, and revise the parts of the course that you are least confident with. So looking at this page on the screen here, I might say, okay, I'm happy with the plot of Macbeth, I'm happy with the characters, I'm confident with the themes, I'd give those all a 5 out of 5 confidence rating. Macbeth context, maybe I'm a 4 out of 5 there, I'm quite comfortable with it, but there's a little bit of improvement. But actually, Macbeth answering the question, not confident with that at all, I'm going to give that a 1 out of 5. So that tells me that I'm happy with the plot, the characters, the themes, and what I really need to do now as part of my revision is, as it says on the audit, complete answers to exam questions on FIREFLY, check they include evidence, analysis, terminology, and context. So this is a useful place for students to start because it helps them to work out which aspects of the course they're least confident with and to make sure they revise those parts first. Okay, so once you've worked out which aspects of a unit of work you need to focus your revision on, you go to the relevant FIREFLY page. So I'm saying I'm going to revise Macbeth, so I click on the green tab here, English Literature Paper 2, Macbeth and Unseen Poetry. And this is what this page looks like when you get there. So I'm going to click through to the specific Macbeth page for this paper. I'm now into the Macbeth page and there are these 4 option tabs available to me, and you'll get the same tabs in every unit of work in English on FIREFLY. So we have revision resources, past papers, sample answers and mark schemes, and extension resources. Those extension resources are for students going for the higher grades to extend their thinking on these texts and on these exam skills. Now, in the example I've been using, I've said that I'm happy with Macbeth, the plot, the characters, the themes, the context. What I really need to do is have a go at some past papers. So I'd click into the red tab there, past papers, download some exam questions and give them a go. Once I've done that, I could then use the yellow tab, have a look at the sample answers and the mark schemes and see how my go at those exam questions compares to the sample answers that we've got on FIREFLY. Okay, so just to finish up, some general tips, if we just put it down to a few bullet points, because I'm conscious I've gone through a lot of information there. For English language, the key way to revise is reading different types of text, using the information and guidance both on FIREFLY and in English books to revise how to answer each question, and then giving them a go, finding the past papers on FIREFLY and having a go at those type of questions. For English literature, key place to start is rereading the text, or you can listen to audio versions, that's fine. Using all the revision templates and resources on FIREFLY to revise the characters, the themes, quotes, context, make sure all the content of those texts is really clear. Good idea as well to learn non-quote methods. Some students feel like they need to learn loads and loads of quotes from these texts. You don't. There's an example down below, if you follow the arrow, of how you can still use evidence without having a quote. So it says, in Animal Farm, the whip is symbolic of control. It's used by both Mr. Jones and Napoleon to symbolise their authority and control over the other animals. So there's not a quote there, but you're still talking about the method of symbolism, which will get you loads of great marks in the exams. Finally, same as language, have a go at those English literature questions. Once you've revised everything, give those exam questions a go. If you have any questions about these English exams, there's a lot to take in there. Please make sure that you ask your teachers, and very good luck with all of your revision.
In maths, all pupils have been provided with a question level analysis sheet from their pre-PPE. This shows them the marks they have achieved in each question and provides them with links to Corbett Maths and Hegarty Maths to revise topics they did not achieve full marks on. This will help pupils revise for their PPEs. We have also provided pupils with a half-term revision booklet, helping them structure their revision of key topics, and they are being set weekly revision homeworks. Work solutions and video solutions are on FIREFLY for all the exam questions in the booklet and homeworks. Ensuring they have completed all of these will really be of benefit to them. The Maths FIREFLY page contains all past exam papers with mark schemes, work solutions and video solutions. The command words pupils need to know are on the page. Also, to help with the geometry questions, there is a sheet with the exact wording pupils need to use in the exam to ensure they obtain all the marks on these questions. It is important that pupils do not just do past paper after past paper for revision. We encourage them to do a past paper. Mark the paper using the mark scheme. Write a list of topics they did not achieve full marks on, and then concentrate on revising these topics by watching a video, asking their teacher for help, or using a revision guide they have purchased. Then test their understanding of the topic by using the sets of topic-specific exam questions found on Corbett Maths or the Maths Genie website. Finally, it is important that pupils turn up to the maths exam and their maths lesson with this equipment.
Okay, just a quick talk about revising science and making science easy to revise. Science is quite a big subject, but conveniently the subjects is split up into three smaller subjects: chemistry, physics, and biology. And all of these are also split up into smaller topics, and as kind of we teach them as. There's about 8 to 10 topics in each subject. So chemistry, physics, and biology will each have about 8 to 10 topics in them. What you need to be doing at the minute is based on making sure that your revision notes are clear. You have all the notes that you need to refer back to during your revision. Now, there's no need to go and copy loads of stuff out. If you've got a revision guide, that's perfectly adequate. That's a very, very good set of notes, and it's just a simple case of referring back to these. It's not a case of copying things out or highlighting lots of stuff, because that can make it a little bit complicated. You want to look at the topics in the revision guide, look at the topics in each subject, spend a good amount of time revising each topic. On FIREFLY, as we'll allude to later on, there is resources that look at questions for each topic, and basically revise each topic at a time, practicing questions on each topic, and then when you've got the topic mastered, or you're going through it, then you can move on to the next topic. But it really is the best thing to do with science is to break it down into these very distinct topics and make sure that you revise each topic at a time rather than trying to revise each one after all at the same time. You can then, once you finish revising a topic, you can revisit it at a later date. You can come back to it, use your notes, use the questions you've already done, and hopefully it will start to become really, really familiar the more you go through it. Lots of places where you can get really good information and really good help with your revision. Lots of different websites. BBC Biteside has been used for years. We also use some Seneca Learning, which you can sign up from. All of these contain quick quizzes, tests, information. They're a very, very good place you can go if you just want to sort of get an understanding, or certainly later on in your revision when you've done the hard work, you can just go into these places, do some really, really quick tests, quick quizzes, and just to ascertain that you actually you have a good understanding of everything that you need. Lots of resources out there on FIREFLY. We have set up the FIREFLY revision page so that you have past paper questions by topic. This is something that I think is quite important because it allows you to revise one topic at a time. Just focus on those questions to do with that topic and continually practice them until they become familiar and you realise that actually there's a lot of things that are very, very repetitive. But also you've got past papers. I would leave past paper revision or use of past papers till towards the end of your revision. Otherwise you're moving all over the place. But using past papers, there's also past papers which again have been divided by chemistry, physics and biology. But the real port of call on FIREFLY is certainly where we have taken the past paper questions and we have put them into different folders depending on each topic.
Hi Year 11, it's Mrs. Jory here, and I'm going to run through some study tips and study skills getting you exam ready for your RPE forthcoming examinations. It's really important to know when your exams are. You should have now all received your PPE timetable, and you can see that RPE is the first exam. It's a 2-hour exam and it consists of 4 questions. Question 1, Christian practices. Question 2, Jewish practices. Question 3, issues of relationships. And question 4, issues of life and death. Remember that each question is half an hour, or should take you half an hour, and is divided into 4 smaller questions, A, B, C and D. Now that exam is a mini version of the summer exams. There are 3 exams in the summer series, first being moral issues, second being Christianity, and third being Judaism. So here's a breakdown of that summer 22 series of exams. Paper 1 is moral issues, divided into the 4 smaller units: relationships, life and death, good and evil and human rights. Christianity then, which is an hour exam, which is broken into the 2 units: beliefs and teachings, beliefs and practices. And Judaism, paper 3, which is beliefs and teachings, beliefs and practices. How to revise. It's really important that you use your FIREFLY pages. The RPE subject FIREFLY page has various tabs that you can navigate and go through to access previous subject PowerPoints, videos, past paper questions and textbook pages. Okay, so this is the relationships page on the moral issues unit, and you can see it's broken down into smaller subject areas, and again if you click onto one of those tabs it will take you through PowerPoints, videos, textbook pages and past paper questions for you to have a go at. Okay, this though is probably the most important page. This is the revision page, and the revision page is a tab within the RP subject page, and it basically takes you through different ways that you can revise and also different revision resources. You've got revision guides, you've got practice papers that you can have a go at, BBC bite-sized pages, you've got textbook pages, you've got revision guides, information guides, you've got checklist, and you've got the 15-week revision guide that takes you from January up until June, and it breaks down the components and the papers for you and gives you lots and lots of tips and lots of advice on how to answer those GCSE questions. So the GCSE question past paper tab is really good because it does give you past papers, and it also gives you some modelled answers as well to have a look at. If you would like to buy the Hodder revision guide, I have put a link on here to Amazon so you can actually purchase the book. The thing is that we provide you with revision guides that we make in school. This one has lots of different religions in it, so you've got to be careful if you're using this one that you are focusing on Christianity and Judaism, whereas our guides that we make for you, which are free, will actually take you through the course and take you through the right information. But if you'd like to have your own guide, then this is available. It's really good to make a schedule of revision. Some of you have already started to make revision timetables. Here's one from last year. By all means, I will send out a new version. But you can see I've broken down the different topics into manageable week by week, day by day sections so that there's lots of variety and you're doing revision sort of little but often. Okay, so I've just talked about visualization and retrieval. Another great technique is by turning quotations into pictures. So here we've got 70 times 7, Jesus said forgive. So we've got 70 times 7, forgive. Again, in an exam, you're thinking of the pictures instead of just thinking about retrieving words. Another one, be fruitful and multiply. Eat, drink and do this in memory of me. It's about the Eucharist, the breaking of the bread and the wine and remembering Jesus. Okay, that then takes us back to the 4 different question styles on the paper. Remember, there's an A, B, C and D in each unit or in each question. So part A requires you to define a word and give an example. That gives you 2 marks. Part B is describe, and that means you give 3 points. You get evidence at that point and then you link back to impact. And then part C is an explain, which means you have to use the word because in a part C. So you give your point, you give an example and you'd say because, this is important because, or they do this because, and it links back to the question, this means that. And then D is exactly the same. You really need to be using PLE, which means that you're including a point, you're giving an evidence, and you're explaining it with because, and you're linking impact. This means that. And you try to give support, challenge, and then end with your own conclusion. So golden rules, I've just talked about PLI or PLI, okay? You do need to try to do this in part C and D questions. So in the explain questions, you need to make a point, you need to example the point, explain by using the word because, and then go back to the question with this means that. For the shorter questions, for example, A and B, you wouldn't give the because, you would just give the point and an example. And then for the B, obviously, you would link it back to the question, this means that. So it's really PEL or P, PEL and PELI, so P for A, PELI for B, PLI and PLI for C and D. Try and do C and D first. They're worth the most amount of marks, therefore you should get them done first, because if you run out of time, then you're going to lose most marks. So you need to try to do C and D first on the paper. Make sure that part D gives an agree, a disagree and a conclusion at the minimum, okay? So for some of you, you're going to aim for 3 paragraphs to support, to challenge and to conclude. And for the majority of you, as we've taught you, you try to include 5, support, challenge, and then your conclusion. Make sure that you're using PLI all the way through. So you're saying one reason why somebody would agree with this is, and you're giving your example, this is because, and you're expanding on that point, and this means that, that's the impact. What does this mean for Jews or Christians? And then you'd give your challenge doing the same thing, support, challenge, and your conclusion. Your conclusion also has to be supported. So you'd say, in conclusion, the statement is reasonable, unreasonable, or partially reasonable because. It's really important that you use those because words in your C and D answers. So what can you do now? It's really, really important that you use the revision guides that your teachers have provided you with. These are yours, you can highlight them, you can use them as flashcards, you can test each other. The key concepts are listed in there. They are the key words that the part A's will be based on, and they can't ask you any other part A than those key concepts, so revise those key concepts thoroughly. Look then at those practice questions and modelled answers within those guides and have a go at writing your own and retrieving your own, okay? Use the revision pages on Firefly with links to websites and videos, and any practice papers or any practice questions that you complete, then please share those with your teacher, and I'm sure your teacher will give you feedback. And we are here for you. If there's any questions or anything you'd like to ask us, then please come and see us. Yeah, and good luck. Thank you.
Once again, my sincere thanks to you all for joining us this evening. We look forward to discussing further support for your child and reviewing their current progress in next Wednesday's Year 11 Parents' Evening. If we can, in the meantime, be of any help, do not hesitate in making contact with your child's tutor or their house staff. Thank you and good evening.